everybody, it's Usernamekate and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back on Honda's Transalp 750. It's been almost a year since I rode this bike and I gave it a relatively neutral review, but I have had a lot more time in the saddle since and I've got some revised opinions, so if you care to hear for them then keep watching. Oh guys, I am back. My tassels are blowing in the wind. Who the heck do I think I am? Now there's a quick story behind these tassels. Mike recently went and did Thunder in the Glen in Scotland and he took the mighty Transalp, but of course it's not quite a Harley, and that's kind of the type of bike you take to Thunder in the Glen. So Mike didn't want to, miss out and not really fit in. So yeah, he got tazzled up for the occasion. But anyway, enough about tazzles and more about Transalps. So as mentioned in my quick little intro then, I last rode this bike about 11 months ago, and I have to say, I rode it and I enjoyed riding the bike because it's a bike and I enjoy riding most bikes, but it didn't really kind of set my soul on fire. It was a very, very neutral review, I would say. It's not a bad bike, it's just trying to work out what the purpose of it is, who it kind of appeals to. For example, with the Suzuki V-Strom, the new 800 range, you've got the DE, which is very certainly dedicated to people that want to do a bit of off-roading. Then you've got the RE, which is pretty much designed for somebody that wants a commuter or a tourer, as opposed to something that'll kind of do the hardcore off-road stuff like the V-Strom can do, with its 21-inch front and its super off-road focused suspension, being able to turn ABS off, traction control off on the DE, stuff like that. They both kind of have their purpose. They've got a market, a very obvious market. Now with the Transalp, you do just have the Transalp and the Hornet that share the same engine, but with the Suzuki range you have the GSX-8S, which is equivalent to Honda's Hornet 750. So you can kind of see my little thought process, my kind of little dilemma with this. Is it for the off-roaders? Is it for the commuters, the tourers? Where's its place? Where does it fit? Can it really kind of do everything? And is it kind of a one-stop solution? So because I couldn't really figure out its kind of role within the marketplace, I was riding it, and I think just that kind of confusion about who this bike is for kind of just led me to be a little bit, not underwhelmed, but just not blown away, Anyway, times have changed. Since then I've added tassels, so I have an extra 5 horsepower. Joke. But I have recently ridden this bike a lot more in Slovenia. But I have got a few more miles, or should I say kilometres, under my belt since the 11 months that I first tried this bike. And there's only so much you can kind of gather from a bike with a first ride review, a first impressions review. Anyway, Honda have lent me this bike specifically for a reason, for a job. It's a workhorse, hence why I've got this tank bag, hence why I've got a big top box on the back. I'm travelling to Brighton in a day. Now from Bolton, where I live, it's approximately a 5-hour ride, and then I've got to ride back up. So to make my life easy, they've provided me with a Transalp, which I'm pretty happy about, because in my first ride review I didn't get to do many miles on the bike, certainly not touring miles, certainly not motorway miles. So you can't really provide sort of a full, well-rounded review when, you know, something's fresh out, you've got it for a limited time, you can't kind of get or go as far afield as you want to go. Full tuck, mate, on your noisy 125 Honda CBR. So hopefully I'll be able to give you guys an idea of what I think about this bike from, you know, a long haul perspective, saying as I'll be doing 10 hours in the saddle, mainly motorways. And I think people that do, you know, buy this bike, they will be looking to chomp a few miles on it, I'd imagine, because it is a adventure bike, so to speak, or a sports tourer, however you kind of categorize this thing, to be honest. So I will be bringing you some more thoughts in the future once I'm back from Brighton on this bad boy. But in the meantime, I put a fair few kilometres on one of these bikes in Gran Canaria. No, I didn't. What am I smoking? I put a lot of kilometres on this bike in Slovenia with Canary Motorcycle Tours. Now, for those of you who aren't aware and don't follow me on other socials such as Instagram and Facebook, where I can post like pictures of my day to day and what I'm up to, I went to Slovenia with Lily for a biking holiday with Canary Motorcycle Tours, as mentioned. For the first day, I was on the Suzuki V-Strom 650. Lily was on the Transalp. And we had a bit of a day riding. At the end of it, I said, Lily, how'd you get on with the Transalp? She said, you know what, Kate, I'm not really feeling it. I said, alright. Well, I am really enjoying the V-Strom 650, but I actually am really intrigued, you know, from a journalistic perspective. Even though I am really enjoying the V-Strom 650, and I might be inclined to be a bit more selfish about it if it was just my holiday, because I didn't obviously massively get on with it on my first ride review, I thought, no, give it a chance. So we did a swap. And then consequently, I actually ended up staying on the Transalp for the duration of the trip because I really bonded with it in Slovenia. Now, the type of roads in Slovenia and Croatia and Austria and Italy and all the other countries that we dipped into, the roads are, they've got incredible tarmac, they're flowy, they're twisty, we've got crazy hairpins, and it was actually quite a nice test to put this bike through, given the fact that when I had it, I literally just kind of took it around my local area, and I didn't get to experience it in that kind of environment. So, one of the things that Lily didn't like about it, which is why she wanted to try the V-Strom, was because she said that, you know, she didn't think it was that torquey. And she's absolutely correct by comparison to the V-Strom, of course. This bike, in my opinion, prefers to be singing along higher up in the revs. And I think Lily just really appreciated the extra torque of the V-Strom 650 when it did come to those hairpins. Now, I kind of got used to it pretty quickly on the Transalp, just appreciating that I've got to keep the revs higher and I've got to be slipping that clutch a little bit more when it does come to the hairpins, just so that I can keep the power in the peak rev range where it's going to help me get up the quite extreme and intense gradients that we were dealing with. Of course, I preferred the extra torque of the V-Strom, but that was pretty much my only negative that I had about the Transalp over the V-Strom. I found the seat on the Transalp a lot comfier than on the V-Strom. On the V-Strom, I had a dead ass kind of by halfway through the day, whereas the Transalp, I just did the whole day in absolute comfort. That suspension is cushy on this. I mean, we don't have adjustable forks. We've got 43mm Showa split function forks, but they don't have adjustability. We've got adjustability at the preload on the rear shock, of course, but not at the front. And then by comparison as well, this Transalp had a big 21-inch front, and I thought it'd compromise its handling a little bit on the twisties, but I just don't feel like it's compromised on this bike with that 21-inch front. One of the things that I really liked about it, and I guess it was good because it had Metzeler Torrance Next 2s on. That's what Canary Motorcycle Tours uses as their rubber of choice, just because for the price. Oh, don't mind me, don't mind me. It's their rubber of choice because of the price, 2, the longevity, and the wet and dry grip. Martin was telling me that it's the best tyre that he's come across for the whole fleet. But I know that tyre, I know it, and I like it. So when it came to trusting the rubber and the grip and being able to push on, I had total confidence in the bike. One of the other things that I noticed in Slovenia was that in sport mode, well, I'm in standard now, so we should probably put it in sport mode, I didn't find the throttle snatchy at all, and I do find it a little bit with the sport mode of this bike in the UK. And Martin was saying that that could well have something to do with, I don't know whether he said emissions, but certainly the same models destined for different markets, like, you know, UK, Europe, the European markets, American markets, etc. They can feel a little bit different on those maps. So yeah, I personally didn't have any issues or any gripes with how sport mode felt, but I've just put it in sport mode now, so hopefully I can, you know, see whether I can feel it being snatchy or not. Another thing, this bike has a seat height of 850mm, which is the same as my GS 1200 in my garage. I don't have any issues with putting a foot down. I think it's because the suspension is so soft. Certainly whatever this preload's on, it's set extremely for comfort, I'd imagine. Probably because they know that, one, I'm light and I've got a long journey ahead of me, so they probably softened it right up for me before it got here. So another little update I wanted to give you guys about this bike was Mike's opinion, because I've grilled him extensively about it, given the fact that he rode to Scotland in one hit. I'm not quite sure where the Thunder in the Glen is. I'll put a Google map image on now of the journey that he did on this bike. So a few of the things that Mike really liked about the bike: he said it feels really light. He said it handles very nimbly. Nimbly, is that a word? And I would tend to agree with him on that front. He also said, Honda, cover your ears please, that it wheelies with such ease, obviously on private roads of course. Mike loved the fact that he had this tank bag, and with that big old top box it just made life very easy for him. They put a tall screen on, it's not normally this tall I don't think. And he also said that when you're just riding like this and you're on like country roads and town roads and stuff like that, he did say that the fuel economy is very good. He does say though that the fuel economy does start to get a little not so great when you do start tanking on the motorway. I think Mike said he was getting like 120 miles before he was having to fill up. Now this has an almost 17 litre tank, so that seems a bit thirsty in my opinion. However, I'm a bit more sane, a bit more normal than Mike is, and I'm taking this to Brighton and I'll be doing plenty motorway miles, so I'll absolutely be able to give you my understanding of how many miles I get to a tank. But one of the things Mike really didn't like about this bike, and I'll have to see if I agree with him when I do the crazy miles myself, is he does find it quite a vibraty bike. And he really, when he got off from, I mean, to be fair, this is why I need to do it myself, because, oh, is that taking it? Yeah, this is why I need to kind of see whether it was the weather that contributed to these issues, right? Because Mike rode back basically in a storm. The wind was violent to the point where he couldn't really go much above 40 miles an hour on the motorway, along with all the other traffic, because he thought he was going to just get blown away. The rain was so torrential and so insane that he was constantly in aquaplane territory, and with the wind was the cold as well. So he said it was the worst ride that he's ever been on. And if you've followed the channel for a long time, you'll know that that trip on the Suzuki GSX S1000 GTs we did in the depths of winter was one of the hardest we've ever done. Mike said it was probably more difficult than that, and that's saying something. So when Mike got back and he jumped off, his left hand, he said he just couldn't feel it. So yeah, Mike said he really struggled with the vibrations. Now, I'm obviously doing a lot of miles soon, the next few days, to Brighton for the Honda event, where I'll be riding the CBR 650R and the CB 650R e-clutch bikes, milling around Londres on them, and you know, ending up at Goodwood Revival. So I'll have a whole video to come on that. But yeah, Mike said it was a good bike. Other than that, he said it would have been nice for the bike to have cruise control, but the competitors don't have cruise control either, unless you take it into account the 790 KTM Adventure, which it has cruise control as an option, I believe. But the V-Strom 800s, the RE, the DE, they don't have cruise either. So yes, Mike struggled with that, but like I say, I'm interested to see how I get on myself. Right, we're in a national. This one has got a quick shifter and auto blipper fitted. It's not a standard feature, unfortunately. It's £255. The bike's also gone up in price from when I last reviewed it 11 months ago. It's gone up £200. It was £9,499. Now it's £9,699. But you know, with inflation and everything that's going on, I'm not quite sure I'd say that's too bad. Right guys, I think we're nearly here for a coffee. That's what I'm after, a nice little oat milk latte. Take the next right. So here we go.
Your destination is on the left.
Oh, here we are. We'll just stop here for a nice little coffee at the Delph. Right guys, well that's me. I'm here at the Delph in Eccleston for my coffee, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to bring you some further insights and updates on my feelings about Honda's Transalp 750 after my long trip to Brighton. Can't wait to update you guys to let you know what I think, because ultimately this is seen as an adventure bike, bit of a touring bike, so we'll see how it kind of copes sending me all the way down to Brighton. Alright guys, if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments below, and until the next time, see you then. Bye!